Hello out there, all you Splinterheads. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate you joining me. If you like this content, please remember to like and subscribe, rather. I almost said describe, but subscribe. That helps me out a lot. So with that said, the topic today in this episode is Lux Vega, a new special promo drop that is getting ready to happen in just over 1 day. If we go up to the shop and then over to the promo tab, you'll see that they have a tab created just for this drop. And I'm getting ready to go through the details, but I'd like to first start off and say that what I'm talking about should not be considered financial investment advice, because I'm not an investor, or I am an investor, but I'm not an advisor. I'm not qualified for that. I just like playing cards, and I see potential in this. With that said, Lux Vega is a new promo summoner that's getting ready to be dropped. It's limited to 1,000, and I will put the link to this article that's on Peak D in the show notes. But it's limited to 1,000, and it's a little bit pricey. However, there's value there in that I see that it is going to be a maxed out summoner, and you can read through the details, but it's also going to be a neutral summoner. Part of that value there is that it comes in maxed out form. Now let's go back to the market. Let's just go ahead and go to the market, and let's take a look at summoners, okay? And putting aside the discussion about how good a summoner it is, it's likely to be at least within the top 10 summoners from my point of view, because it can be played in most every match except for the no neutrals, and it's also on the description page. You cannot play it with dragon, so those are its two chief limitations. But with that said, if we go in and we start looking at some summoners, and we see that, say for instance, Llama, level 4 is maxed out. If you look at a level 4, you're talking about up near $2,000. Even if, for say, you make the argument that it's not as good as a Llama, which it may not be, I don't know. I'm not arguing that. But even if you go in here and you start looking at these, $1,200, and I won't beat the point, but even, well, that's an alpha beta. Level 6 is max, so even this is up near $500 a C-Chan. So a lot of the top 5, I guess my main point here is the top 5, if you go to a maxed out level card, is going to be over 1,000, sometimes up near $2,000, and depending upon the rarer ones, a lot more than that. So for playability and value, if you're just discussing how many matches I can use this in, do I need any other summoners at this point? The summoners used, it could be used in both leagues as well. So there's value there. That's probably my main point here. With that said, let's go back and look at the details. It's going to be released Tuesday, November 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It is a neutral summoner, which, as I just mentioned, can be used in most every other match except for dragon and no neutrals. Now, it was released that it's going to have +1 armor, +1 speed, +1 life, okay, which basically makes it an upgraded Kelia, okay? So it's basically a Kelia with +1 life, but can be used in everything but dragon. So it's not limited to just water. So, and we already know that Kelia is one of the top rated newer summoners, so very helpful. let's go back. So with that said, it comes down to money, just as everything else does in life, right? So there are a certain portion of these that are set aside for the people that actually attended Splinterfest that just happened a few weeks ago, okay? And there's a total of 1,000 that will ever be minted, okay? So the base price for us Joes that didn't go to Splinterfest is $1,000. However, that $1,000 is split up in two different buckets, really, okay? The first way you can reduce the amount of money you have to spend is by buying vouchers. So you can go on the secondary market on Hive Engine and you can buy 500 vouchers, and each of the vouchers at this point in time costs a lot less than $1 a piece. And that will cut the price of the card in half, basically. Considering the price of vouchers now, that will cut it more than in half. Okay. The second part of that is you'll need to come up with 500,000 DEC. And at this point, DEC, let's check on the current value. Vouchers are down a little bit compared to what they were a few days ago. Let's check on DEC. DEC is up a little bit. Without sitting here and doing all the numbers, I figured roughly that right around $500 at this point in time on November 14th, you should be able to go in and buy vouchers, buy the DEC needed, as long as you have, perhaps you had Hive in play in your wallet ready to go, or if you had another method to move funds around quickly, you could probably be ready for this buy tomorrow. However, I will stop there and I will say this as a big warning. This promo is highly limited. It's limited to 1,000. Okay, there's going to be a lot of people vying for those cards, which the big red flag for me is, because I've been burnt on these type of things before, is I jump through all the hoops, get all the crypto things in place as far as DEC and vouchers, and in other cases what I'm talking about were other crypto methods, but get everything in place, and then either one, there's a problem with the website loading, as far as, say for instance, this timer ticks down, and then you refresh your browser, and then for some reason it locks up and you can't get through to buy the card. Or say for instance it doesn't lock up, but you just don't get through to buy the card because it sells out in 5 seconds, which I've had that happen too. Then you are stuck holding 500 vouchers, 500K DEC, which, you know, if you're very bullish on Splinterlands, you may be okay with, because you have a good outlook. But for most of us, especially, well, I'll just talk for myself. For me, that would be left holding a lot, and I would probably take a loss on that, because that money is basically what I would spend over the course of several weeks on the game, all tied up at one. So I will leave that more as a warning. So if you're going in on Lux Vega, which I consider to be a good value, at this point, I probably won't go in on one. I will probably look at it if I see one on the secondary market, I might be very interested in it from a play point of view, or even from a rental point of view, because I'm sure they'll probably rent pretty well. But at this point, I'm not in place with DEC, and I'm not in place with vouchers or even Hive available to buy those, let alone feel good about getting through on the purchase. So with that said, I just wanted to drop that in your lap. So if you are in the position where you're really into Splinterlands and you haven't invested a lot of money on summoners, this may be a good play for you. Because instead of doing what I've done, which is at this point, I have several of the newer summoners, the Chaos Legion summoners, leveled up to 5, and I've spent hundreds of dollars leveling those up in the big picture. You could buy one summoner and be good for most of your matches, except for, of course, Dragon and the off chance you hit the no neutrals type game. So, I mean, it does pose a strong value. So, with that said, I will say thanks for stopping by once again. Please come back and see me, and please click that like and subscribe button, and I will see you on the flip side.